Left Air Force 120.
The U.S. just changed the rules of the cartel war, and not everyone is happy about it. Instead of brute force, the Navy is using brains over brawn, mixing advanced technology, precision strikes, and naval intelligence to outsmart cartels on land and sea. What happens when America's most powerful fleet turns its eyes from global rivals to enemies right across the border? And could this bold new strategy reshape the future of modern warfare? Join us as we uncover the U.S. Navy's smartest and most controversial move yet in the Mexican cartel war. When Felipe Calderon became Mexico's president in December 2006, he wasted no time showing his plan to fight back against the drug cartels tearing the country apart. Just 10 days after taking office, he sent more than 6,000 soldiers into his home state, Michoacán. Rival cartels there had turned cities into war zones, leaving trails of bodies as they battled over who controlled the richest drug routes. The violence had been boiling since 2005, and Calderon's move was seen as both bold and political. Many believed he wanted to prove his strength after a tense and disputed election win. Within weeks, soldiers were everywhere. In less than 2 months, over 20,000 troops were deployed across Mexico. For a while, people cheered him on. Communities sick of gunfire, kidnappings, and corrupt police hoped the military could bring peace back to their streets. But what started as a show of power soon turned into a long, brutal war. As the years passed, the cost of this fight went far beyond money or politics. It became a national tragedy. The United States stepped in with the Merida Initiative in 2008, sending over $1.5 billion to help Mexico strengthen its security forces and upgrade equipment. Mexico itself poured more than $50 billion into defense and policing after 2007. But critics warn that much of this money disappeared into the shadows. Corruption spread through every layer of the system. Officers and politicians all got their share. The real price, though, was human life. Since 2007, close to 200,000 people have been killed, and tens of thousands more have vanished without a trace. One of the darkest moments came in September 2014, when 43 trainee teachers were kidnapped in Guerrero. They were last seen being handed over by corrupt police officers to cartel members. Investigations later pointed to the army and local politicians being involved. The case became a symbol of just how deep the rot had gone. As the government tightened its grip, reports of human rights abuses exploded. Soldiers and police, under pressure to deliver results, resorted to torture, forced confessions, and fake arrests. Amnesty International revealed that reports of torture by security forces grew by 600% between 2003 and 2013. Meanwhile, the cartels themselves were changing. Bigger groups split into smaller, more unpredictable ones, turning Mexico into a patchwork of mini-wars. Alongside drug trafficking came other crimes. In 2010, the world was horrified when Los Zetas, a cartel formed by ex-Special Forces soldiers, kidnapped and murdered 72 migrants who were trying to reach the United States. The chaos forced many civilians to flee their homes. Entire towns emptied as people ran from the violence. Others decided to fight back. In several states, especially Guerrero, Oaxaca, and Michoacán, villagers formed self-defense militias. They wore makeshift uniforms, carried rifles, and took justice into their own hands. Some of these groups genuinely wanted to protect their families, but others were infiltrated by the same criminals they were fighting, blurring the line between protector and predator. Nearly 2 decades later, Mexico's war on drugs shows no sign of ending. Soldiers still patrol streets once filled with families, and the line between the army and the cartels is thinner than ever. For military watchers, the conflict has become a case study in how a nation can lose control when the battlefield is its own backyard. Calderon's war began as a mission to restore order, but as Mexico learned, once the guns come out, peace becomes the hardest enemy to conquer. Still, even in the chaos, there were moments of progress that gave hope that the fight wasn't in vain. Better teamwork between the United States and Mexican intelligence has led to many major captures and drug seizures over the years. During President Felipe Calderon's time in office, officials claimed that 25 of the 37 top drug lords on his most wanted list were either arrested, killed, or handed over to the United States. Soldiers also seized more than 100,000 tons of cocaine and burned down nearly 180,000 hectares of marijuana and poppy fields. These numbers sounded impressive, but not all of them were ever confirmed. When Enrique Peña Nieto took office in December 2012, he continued the same aggressive tactics. According to official reports, 101 of his 122 most wanted drug bosses were either dead or behind bars. Again, not all the claims checked out, but the government celebrated them anyway. The biggest headline came from one man, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the notorious head of the Sinaloa cartel. His capture made Peña Nieto look like a hero until Guzman pulled off a daring escape through a tunnel right under a maximum security prison. Months later, he was recaptured again, making both Mexico and its justice system the subject of global mockery. While Guzman fought extradition to the United States, rival cartels fought each other to take over his drug routes, causing new waves of violence in places like Colima, Baja California, and Sinaloa. Despite the arrests, Mexico's streets did not become safer. The government's focus on hunting cartel leaders, often called the kingpin strategy, broke up big groups, but unleashed smaller, more vicious ones. Every time one leader fell, two more rose up to claim his place. Towns that were once peaceful suddenly became battlefields as gangs clashed over control of smuggling routes. Even with a new president, Mexico's strategy barely changed. Peña Nieto promised to shift focus away from the war on drugs and rebuild Mexico's global image, hoping to attract investors instead of attention for violence. But behind the speeches, the same military-driven tactics stayed in place. As one security expert, David Shirk, put it, Calderon was obsessed with security and Peña Nieto was obsessed with pretending he wasn't. Money for defense kept rising, and so did the death toll. In the first half of Peña Nieto's term, around 63,000 people were murdered, about half more than during Calderon's first 3 years. For every high-profile arrest, new bodies showed up on the streets. Meanwhile, the drug flow to the United States never really slowed down. By 2013, more than 24 million Americans, roughly 1 in 10 people over age 12, had used illegal drugs recently. Cocaine use had dipped slightly, but heroin, meth, and marijuana use kept climbing. Every change in U.S. law enforcement priorities or market demand created new openings for Mexico's traffickers to exploit. Even as some U.S. states began to legalize marijuana, reducing that part of the business for Mexican suppliers, the cartels simply shifted to more profitable drugs. Heroin, fentanyl, and methamphetamine production exploded, keeping the money flowing. Today, experts estimate that Mexican cartels still earn between $19 and $29 billion every year from drug sales in the United States. Now, Washington has taken a drastic step. A new order signed by President Donald Trump has given the Pentagon the green light to use military force against Latin American cartels, officially labeled as terrorist groups. Sources close to the administration confirm that this wasn't just talk. The order, first mentioned by the New York Times and later verified by Rolling Stone, represents one of the most aggressive U.S. security shifts in decades. Senior White House insiders claim the president's patience with Mexico's handling of the cartel problem has run out. In their words, unless Mexico steps up and meets Washington's demands, America is ready to act, by force if necessary. Behind the scenes, intelligence agencies are treating the cartels as global terror networks. Analysts have been tracking cartel money pipelines stretching from Mexico to Asia and Europe. Satellite surveillance has mapped trafficking routes that snake through the desert into the southern United States. The Defense Intelligence Agency has also identified cartel-controlled regions that function like miniature war zones, heavily armed, guarded by private militias, and protected by corruption at every level. Military planners have been told to design operations that would cripple cartel logistics while avoiding considerable civilian casualties. That includes pinpoint raids, drone strikes, and cyber warfare to disrupt cartel communication systems. Some proposals mirror past missions against groups like ISIS or Al-Qaeda, suggesting that the U.S. is treating cartels with the same seriousness once reserved for foreign terrorists. Still, officials are aware of the risk. Any cross-border strike could ignite diplomatic backlash or even conflict with Mexico, a key trade partner and neighbor. But insiders claim Trump sees the threat as outweighing the risk. This new order could redefine America's approach to organized crime forever. For decades, cartels have operated in the shadows. Now that the Pentagon is officially in the game, that era may be ending. Whether it leads to victory or deeper chaos, one thing is certain. The battle lines are being drawn, not in the Middle East or the Pacific, but just across America's southern border. And for the first time in history, the world's strongest military is preparing to fight not a country, but the cartels next door. That shift in strategy has already sent shockwaves through the region. Tension between Mexico and the United States has reached new heights after a wave of U.S. airstrikes in the Caribbean and, more recently, the Pacific Ocean. These strikes, launched under President Donald Trump's renewed anti-drug campaign, have killed at least 37 people since early September, and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has made it clear she wants no part of it. During her morning press briefing, Sheinbaum condemned the bombings, saying Mexico disagrees with such actions. She stated that there are international laws about how to deal with the illegal transport of drugs or weapons in international waters. Also, she expressed this to the United States government, both privately and publicly. Her comments placed her among a growing number of Latin American leaders who have criticized Washington's military escalation. Many fear the strikes could spill over into sovereign territories, blurring the line between drug enforcement and acts of war. But Trump quickly fired back. Speaking at a roundtable promoting his anti-drug campaign, he aimed at Mexico, saying that the cartels run Mexico. While he has great respect for President Sheinbaum, claiming that she is a tremendous and very brave woman, the cartels run Mexico, and the United States has to defend itself from that. His words showed a wider pattern of pressure. Since Trump's return to the White House in January, the relationship between Washington and Mexico City has grown increasingly strained. Trump's agenda centers on curbing illegal immigration, punishing foreign trade competitors, and cutting off drug routes, often through threats of tariffs or military action. In late January, the Trump administration shocked both Mexico and Canada by announcing 25% tariffs on their exports. The stated goal was to hold them accountable for failing to stop illegal immigration and drug trafficking. Facing massive economic damage, both nations scrambled to negotiate. Mexico managed to delay the tariffs for 30 days after Sheinbaum promised to deploy 10,000 National Guard troops along the border to crack down on drug smuggling. Trump reportedly praised her toughness, even calling her the Trump Whisperer. Despite her efforts, the tariffs went into effect that March, deepening economic pressure. A few months later, Trump threatened to raise them again, this time by 30%, accusing Mexico of not doing enough to stop fentanyl and other narcotics from entering the U.S. He wrote on social media that Mexico still has not stopped the cartels who are trying to turn all of North America into a narco playground. Sheinbaum avoided escalation, and the threat faded after a tense phone call between the two leaders. But the economic standoff wasn't the only concern. In June, the U.S. Treasury sanctioned 3 major Mexican banks, claiming they were laundering cartel money. The institutions denied it, but the sanctions crippled their ability to operate internationally. Mexico's financial system felt the blow almost immediately. Meanwhile, fears of U.S. military action have been growing. Early in Trump's second term, he announced plans to label Latin American cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. The label alone doesn't authorize military attacks, but analysts warn it could pave the way for future intervention. In May, both presidents admitted that Washington had offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to fight the cartels directly. Sheinbaum turned the offer down without hesitation. Her refusal was applauded at home, even as U.S. forces built up along the border. Then came another alarming report. In August, media outlets revealed that Trump had signed an order secretly authorizing the use of military force against Latin American cartels, and rumors of possible strikes on Mexican soil spread quickly. Sheinbaum moved to calm public fear, insisting that while they cooperate and collaborate, there will be no invasion. She ruled out the possibility. Washington's tone only hardened. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office, while meeting NATO's Secretary General, that the United States would hit them very hard if they came in by land, that they had not yet experienced anything like it, and that his administration was now fully prepared to do so. Since September, 9 strikes have been carried out on suspected drug boats near Venezuela, Colombia, and the wider Caribbean. This week, the campaign expanded to Colombia's Pacific coast, Trump claimed the targets included small boats and even a submarine allegedly carrying narcotics. But no solid evidence has been presented, and regional leaders warn that civilians are being killed. Ecuador freed one of 2 survivors from a submarine attack, saying it found no criminal link. Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro, said a local fisherman named Alejandro Carranza was among the dead. Families in Trinidad and Tobago, near the Venezuelan coast, fear their missing relatives met the same fate. International law experts and United Nations officials have voiced alarm, arguing the U.S. strikes may amount to illegal killings. Without proof of combat or active war, such attacks violate the rules of engagement under international law. For Sheinbaum, the challenge is enormous, maintaining Mexico's partnership with the U.S. while protecting its sovereignty and citizens. As Washington expands its war from the seas toward possible land strikes, Latin America is left wondering whether the world's most powerful nation has crossed a line that diplomacy can no longer erase. Yet as Sheinbaum struggles to maintain diplomacy, new threats reveal how quickly that balance can crumble. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Mexican cartels have placed specific rewards for attacks on U.S. agents. About $2,000 to reveal an agent's identity, between $5,000 and $10,000 to kidnap immigration officers, and as much as $50,000 to kill high-ranking officials. However, Mexico's president has made it clear that her government has no solid proof of claims from the Trump administration that Mexican cartels are putting bounties on U.S. immigration officers. Speaking at a press briefing, she said Mexico only learned of the alleged threats after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security published them. The controversy began when DHS announced that Mexican cartels were teaming up with American gangs to hunt down immigration agents. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem fueled the storm, saying Trump's crackdown on drug networks had been so effective that cartels were now desperate enough to place bounties on agents' heads. But behind the noise, many people aren't buying it. Several people with inside knowledge of cartel operations, including a former Mexican trafficker and retired DEA officers, say the claims don't add up. According to them, the idea of cartels ordering hits on U.S. officials inside America is simply unrealistic. Recently, immigration agents launched tough raids across cities like Chicago, sparking anger from protesters and local leaders. Some believe the bounty claims might be an attempt to justify these aggressive operations. DHS alleged that cartels were offering $2,000 to identify immigration agents, between $5,000 and $10,000 to kidnap them, and up to $50,000 to kill high-ranking officials. Margarito Flores, a former Sinaloa cartel member turned U.S. law enforcement trainer, called those numbers ridiculous. He explained that drug cartels think like businessmen, not terrorists. Mike Vigil, who once led international operations for the DEA, agreed. From his years working in Mexico, he said that attacking U.S. officers would destroy the cartel's smuggling routes. He explained that the cartels survive by keeping business quiet, and bringing more attention would only hurt them. The source of the rumors remains uncertain. DHS claims they got the tip from an informant who said a Latin Kings gang member had issued a hit on a U.S. Border Patrol chief. However, no proof links the supposed threat to any Mexican cartel. Flores confirmed that while American gangs often buy drugs from Mexican suppliers, they operate independently. While cartels are known for brutal violence in Mexico, direct attacks on American soil are extremely rare. Nathan Jones, a security studies professor, said he doubts the story entirely. The last major attack on a U.S. agent by Mexican criminals happened in the mid-1980s when the Guadalajara cartel kidnapped and murdered DEA agent Enrique "Kiki" Camarena. The aftermath crippled the cartel and taught organized crime groups a lasting lesson: never target U.S. officials again. For many analysts, this new wave of claims looks less like a real warning and more like political theater. Flores fears that spreading such rumors could make things worse for agents on the ground. Once officials start believing there's a bounty on their head, suddenly every phone in their face feels like a gun. The truth about these alleged bounties may never be clear, but one thing's certain: the war between truth and power is far from over. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.